We'll begin with a letter from a mother who is relatively experienced with the ridiculously effective parenting training. She said to me, in a recent email, you, meaning me, reminded me to love and teach, one word, love and teach, instead of browbeat and shame, which I sometimes do, and you very sweetly pointed out to me. Yesterday morning at family meeting, I quoted you to the kids. Quote, "Without real love, we are doing the only things we know to survive." Good for you. Because kids who behave badly they behave badly. There's no doubting that. Screaming, yelling, throwing things, is that behaving well? No. So let's just call it behaving badly instead of unproductively or socially unacceptable, or no, just bad. But kids who behave badly are not bad themselves. They're surviving. Just as if you were drowning, you'd be thrashing and kicking, and that's perfectly understandable behavior. In fact, saving your life, maybe. But if you were to do that on land, in a crowded room, for example, yeah, that would be considered bad behavior, because you would be hitting people, disturbing everybody around you. You would look like you had gone crazy. So I explained to Mom how we all use what I call getting and protecting behaviors. And I'm not sure I've used that behavior so far in these Facebook Lives. So if you want to learn all about getting and protecting behaviors, you can either read the Real Love and Parenting book, or pretty much any of the Real Love books, or take the ridiculously effective parenting training on realloveparents.com. Read more about the getting and protecting behaviors. Why? Because they explain every single behavior that your child does that you don't like. All of them. Every single one. If you can find a child who is an exception to these, please send me a note. So far, nobody has sent me a note. Briefly, though, I'm going to describe them. When we don't feel loved, we do anything that it takes to either get attention or any kind of feeling that substitutes for love, or at least diminishes the pain of not feeling loved, or we protect ourselves from perceived threats because we're hypervigilant. We suffer from PTSD. Not feeling loved puts us in a state of pain where we are just wired to prevent more pain from happening. And I kind of categorize these behaviors as either lying gets us what we want and protects us. Attacking does the same thing. Anger is the most common form of attacking. Acting like a victim, like when the mother says, what's the answer to this question? Why is your room not clean? I can't drool, but I don't know, Mother. Elves came out of the chimney. I worked all day cleaning this room, and now it's a mess. Elves. That's both lying and acting like a victim. Running, kids who disappear into their rooms and play video games all day long. Clinging, the child who grabs hold of his mother's skirt and won't let go. All of the behaviors you can think of that you find unacceptable in your child fall into one of those categories or multiple categories. And I said that we need to all begin to be held accountable for those behaviors. Because if we're not held accountable, how can we possibly see what we're doing and then begin to choose our behaviors instead of just involuntarily reacting to pain? Another way that I've said it in other places is, do you want to be a human being, or do you just want to be a rock that just falls, just reacts to gravity? If the cliff edge falls away, the rock falls down. Do you want to spend the rest of your life reacting to pain, or would you like to actually make choices? So, human or rock, what do you want? Mom says, I said that there's no shame when we're just trying to survive. But now we're learning a new way. So we have to see our getting and protecting behaviors, our unproductive, unloving, irresponsible behaviors, and change them. Perfectly said. 2 days ago, I talked to a teenage girl on the same day. I talked to a teenage girl on one occasion and to a woman who's 35. Same day, completely different conversations. They don't know each other, I don't think. They both described how they felt flawed, defective, and even disgusting for the many things that they have thought, said, and done. Their descriptions of themselves were almost the same. I helped them see that every time they behaved badly, they were in pain. And then I said, can you see that pattern? Can you see that every time you behave badly, you're in emotional distress? You feel stressed, you feel pain. And they were stunned to realize, yeah. So I said, and at the time, did you know a smarter, more productive behavior that you could have chosen instead of the dumb behavior, the bad one? Well, not at the time, no. So how in the world can we feel ashamed about something when we just didn't know any better? If I put you in the operating room, for example, where I've done thousands and thousands of operations, if I put you in the operating room and told you that if you don't operate on this particular patient, they will die or go blind or be crippled or whatever, what would you do? Right now, today, this second, I put you in the operating room, well, you'd be paralyzed with fear, probably run out of the room. Even if I told you you're the only person who's allowed to touch this patient, well, then they're dead or blind or whatever. Should you feel ashamed for your inaction, for your making a choice that is not helpful to the other person? No, it would be foolish because you were never taught what to do. And the thought of operating on somebody and hurting them is worse than the thought of doing nothing. And that's what happens to us in real life. We don't know what to do. So we just do whatever seems to work in the minute. That's why a child whines. And then as they get older, that's why that child becomes an excuse-making, selfish, insufferable victim. Mom says, in the evening at our family meeting, we went around and we all shared how we had used getting and protecting behaviors that day. Oh my, I hope everybody's listening. That is perfect. How better to teach a family than to have everybody learning from everybody? For the purpose, you tell the truth about your getting and protecting behaviors, of course, not to be lectured. Oh, that would just ruin it. But for the purpose of feeling accepted by the people in the room. Accepted how? Just look at their faces. I've done this with thousands of people. So a child describes being a spoiled, snotty brat, and mom says, anybody else here ever behaved like that? And it turns out, yeah, everybody does. Where's the loving in this? The loving and teaching. The child just told the truth about an unproductive behavior. The loving is in the mother's tone of voice and in her face. That's where it is. She does not have to say, oh, well, I love you anyway. No. Because if you're annoyed or you do that fakey little positive thinking thing, they're going to know. Then mom says, I shared with them how at times I do what you told me I do, browbeat and shame instead of love and teach. Now, I had to spend a minute giving them the new vocabulary word, what it means to browbeat. But when I said I browbeat and shame you, every child went, that's you. Like convicted. The jury comes back and says, found guilty of browbeating and shaming. Mom says, I used the example with my son in pulling weeds earlier in the day. I had made him feel bad for not being able to tell the difference between one kind of weed and a flower, even though they did have some similarities. And even though to me, the differences were huge. I have weeds like that in my garden that are almost indistinguishable from an adjacent flower. But if you do it long enough, you can tell the difference like that. But he couldn't. He hadn't done it before. So he's just going, green plant. And he was just pulling them all up. So he's pulling up the plants and, and the weeds. So when I made him feel bad for not doing it, my son says in the family meeting, this is after the weed pulling, yes, you kept saying it, making me feel stupid. Ooh, this is good feedback from a kid. And I really did think that the weeds and the flowers looked the same. I believe him. Some of them look the same in my yard. So mom said to the son, yes, I kept saying it because I couldn't understand. Now, listen to the tone of this, because I just couldn't understand how you could think that. Do you hear the tone? Just a little tone in there. The sentence ends like this, although she didn't say it. I just couldn't understand how you could think that, comma, you moron. That's what the tone adds to the sentence. Mom says, I was waiting for you to say something like this. Oh, this is incredible honesty on the part of a parent. This is in a family meeting and she's speaking to her son. I was waiting for you to say, yes, mother, that was really dumb. How could I have thought that they looked the same? 2, she says. Or, yes, mother, I was lazy, so I didn't even care to look closely. Or 3, yes, I was lying. I knew they were different, but I decided to pull the weeds and the flowers at the same time anyway. Instead, mom says, I could have just shown you the difference and made sure that you understood. Love and teach. Then you walk away, you come back, you look at what's been pulled, and you say, you've gotten 95% of these right. Now, look in the middle of this. Here's a flower. Can you see how it's different from the weed? Can you tell me? Do you hear it's all in the tone of voice. It's not memorizing the words. It's love and teach. Perfect. There's no benefit to shame. Just repeated loving and teaching. And yes, sometimes you have to love and teach the same principle many times. Tough. That's the only thing that works. I can't tell you how many people have come to my home, and sometimes I just for fun, because we're just talking, and I take them out back to do some task, and I tell them that I'm going to be doing some work. If they want to watch, they can watch. If they want to help, they can help, because I really don't care. I do it for fun. And so we'll build something. We'll pour concrete and put in a post, or cut up logs with a chainsaw, or whatever. Almost invariably, they've never done such a thing. And afterward, I hear this almost every time. They say, I really sucked at that. And I say, yeah, at first, yeah, you really did. You didn't know how to do it. That's all. And they say, but I learned. And I never felt like you were impatient with me as you showed me. That is the first time ever in my life. Doesn't matter how old they are. Sometimes this is with 28-year-old people, and sometimes it's with 68-year-old people. This is the first time ever in my life that somebody showed me something that mattered, that had to be done right. Pouring concrete or cutting with a chainsaw can be the devil to fix if you don't do it right, or even dangerous. But it's the first time somebody showed me something like that without being impatient. They corrected me instead of just teaching me. And that, why do I tell you that? That everybody says, this is the first time I've experienced this. That's how rare loving and teaching is. It's not saying something good about me. It's saying something awful about how the world runs. It's that rare. If I hear that routinely when I show people how to do something, they've never been loved and taught that way. So no wonder kids are screwed up. No wonder adults are, eh? The daughter who was at the meeting said, is that why you often repeat the same thing over and over? Because you're waiting for us to admit that we're wrong? And mom kind of shifted her eyes and went, yeah. If you want to find out what your behavior is, ask your kids. And they do need to admit that they're wrong or that they don't know something, because that's the beginning of learning. You can't learn without being wrong first, because if you're right, you have no reason to learn. But the best way to help them do that is to lovingly teach them until they see the difference between the way to do it and the way they are doing it. And they will if you're loving them. Mom said to me, I really couldn't believe that my son didn't see the difference from the start between the flowers and the weeds. And I rubbed it in. I really did browbeat and shame like you told me. After you told me, I went straight to the next family meeting and I did it. So that's kind of blind on my part, isn't it? It's insensitive. It's misjudging them. Yeah, all that. But now you're seeing it. So you will simply do better. Right now, I said to Mom, I'm doing with you, loving and teaching, exactly what I'm recommending that you do with him. I didn't shame you. I didn't say that was wrong. It was stupid. It said, didn't work. I don't make you feel stupid about it. I just say, yeah, you were blind and insensitive. Now, what are we going to do about it? And then you and I have talked about what not blind and what sensitive looks like, so that you'll get it. And we can all learn that way. And we can all learn to love and teach our children that way. It's very cool, much more fun. New subject. Sometimes, just from a mother, a child will say to me, do you like my picture? Every parent's done this. Child has gone and crayoned something and comes and goes, like they're proud, like, how much do you think this will sell for at the National Gallery? Do you like my song? In other words, do you think I'll win the next America's Got Talent? Or I can't keep track of the reality shows. That may have been 10 shows ago. They're all just jazzed about it, just waiting for praise to rain down on their head. And Mom says, I know that they want to hear, yes, I like your picture. Yes, I love your song. Duh, that's what they want. After a performance, what does the performer stand there waiting for? Applause. Mom says, what would a more loving way be to answer than to say, oh yes, I like your picture or your song? That is a really good question. Now notice that your answers, I like the picture, or I like the song, I intentionally put emphasis on the words, focus on two things. You, I like, and then the object. I, you, like the thing. What the child really wants to know is that they are loving, capable, and that you care about them. That's what they want to know. It's not about the picture. But we turn, even though they say, how do you like my picture? We get fooled by the word picture. What they're really saying is, how do you like me? Really? Watch their face when you get it wrong. We turn it into our judgment about a thing. We're not talking here about the child, which is what matters. So, what are some possible answers that would accomplish that goal that I just stated? You might say, I love hearing you sing. I can feel your feelings. I can feel who you are when you sing. What did you just do? Focused on them. That's what they want. Or, I love seeing you come alive in your pictures. What's the emphasis? Them. Or you might say, how did you feel as you were singing? Or if you want to get really specific, you might say, when you sang this part of the song, these words, because you can watch a performer and tell when they're most into it. When you were singing those words, your face changed. What were you feeling? Really an intimate moment where you're reaching out and touching their heart as you ask this question. Do you get it? It's way cooler than, yeah, I really like your picture. And you go back to texting. That's nothing. In fact, they just feel discounted. Or you could point to a part of the painting and say, this is different from what I've seen before. Tell me what you were thinking or feeling when you chose to include this object in the picture, or choose that color, or whatever. Or as I sometimes do with my grandchildren's pictures, because I can't tell what the heck it is. I say, tell me about this. And they describe the horse that they're riding. And I'm going, doesn't look anything like a horse. Probably not what they want to hear. Or even if it looks perfectly like a horse, that's still not what they want to hear. What were you feeling when you did that? Because now they're talking about what? The most important subject in the world to a child. Themselves. And you're showing an interest in them. Oh, wow. What an effect. In short, make it about them, not your opinion of them. You're saying all these things about them proves that you do care about them and that they're worthwhile without you making a judgment about their work. This is very different from how the world does it, isn't it? No applause, no prize, no gong, no slapping a big red button that says you win, no confetti, no. They're taught that something's not worthwhile until there's some kind of prize, when what they're really looking for is you reaching out and emotionally touching their soul. And that's what this does. It's what we can all learn to do. It's fun. We'll see you tomorrow.